Oh, hello.
Hello.
Here we are, Q&A number 68, something like that. Anyway, we're going to tell some more about our story. Some of you noticed that we haven't told what Joe's parents thought about me when he introduced me. But first, Joe wants to tell a little bit about his life in Canada when he was little, and how his parents got divorced and stuff.
Actually, my real name is Joe Wolloschuk.
Wolloschuk. We would have been the Wolloschuk's instead of the Orgills.
We might have told you this, but I'll just quickly say it. My father is from a strict Catholic family, and I'm from a strict Mormon family as far as goals go and everything. When they were teenagers, they went to dances. They both lived on farms.
His mom and his dad.
Yeah, both lived on farms, and they would meet, kind of have family dances.
And this is in what part of Canada?
It's in the province of Alberta, which is right next to British Columbia, right on the edge.
Comment below if you know where that is.
And anyway, they went to dances, they met, and as time went by, my mom got to be in her late teens and early 20s, and by that time she had started going out with some of the boys, and one of them she started to go out with was Ralph Wolloschuk, my father, and they fell in love. I don't know a lot of the details, but all I know is that they decided to get married, and neither one of them, I think they said, should we tell our mom? No.
So they eloped.
Should we tell my dad? You want to tell your dad? No, he'll kill me. And so they
crazy young
hitchhiked
kids
from Lethbridge,
Canada.
Lethbridge is maybe an hour or so over the border, from the American border in Montana. So they hitchhiked from there to Las Vegas, and they stopped in Salt Lake where my mom's cousins were, you know, the kind of the center of all the Mormons. And I guess by that time they were looking for a good meal and maybe a couple of dollars spending money from their friends. And
maybe that's where you got the idea of hitchhiking to get where you want to go.
And she said they were kind of cold towards me. And I was going to say,
you can imagine.
Yeah, you're traveling with your boyfriend, and we're kind of going to get married.
We're going down to Vegas to get married. Can you give us some money? They go, we shouldn't encourage this. Your parents
so they went down
about this?
And they were there about 10 months. And they're mostly
down in Vancouver.
Las Vegas.
And they got married down there.
Oh, they did get married down there, and then they were completely out of money. And 5 months went by, and they pretty well they started hanging around the Catholic church down there, and then the nuns in their cafeteria.
And your mom's pregnant.
Yeah, my mom's pregnant.
With twins.
Yeah. And she said she looked like she was 8 months pregnant, but
did she know she was having twins?
I don't know.
No. Back then they didn't know.
There's no doctors involved.
Yeah, back then you don't know. You didn't know what you were having.
That's right. And so they got fed by the kitchen for the nuns and the priests, and that kind of kept them from starving. And they were close to a dairy, so they said it's in the upper 90s or 100 degrees there where they were, and there were flies all over the place. They couldn't sleep at night. And eventually they said, let's go back.
Maybe we should go home.
Let's just go home. So they decided to go home. They got home.
Did they hitchhike home?
Oh yeah, they hitchhiked home again. And
oh dear.
And they got home, and then things did not improve because I had a tape recording of my mother.
I mean, did not improve with their money?
Yes, exactly. Says that was their worst of their time after they got home, and they're discussing, so who should we have meet us at the border? Because you don't just walk across the border.
Oh, somebody's got to pick you up.
Well, you have to. They have to know that you're not going to be dependent on Canada for your support. So they said,
didn't they have
They said, want to tell your mother? Oh, no.
Who's this? Your mom didn't want to tell her mother.
Yeah,
and your dad didn't want to tell his mother?
His father.
His father.
Yeah. And actually, she wrote my mother for money, or she wrote my grandma in California for money, and she was so mad. And my mother, I did a tape recording of her life story. And
we didn't have cell phones back then.
Yeah.
You just kind of had to guess what had happened.
Did a tape recording of her, what she said, and she said, my mother, I told her, that we just, if you have a couple of dollars, you could send me.
Mom.
And my mom's mom, my grandma, said to her, we don't have much money ourselves. Because her husband,
if you're gonna go get married, you're on your own. That's how they did it back then. They said, you're on your own.
And so my grandma sent her enough money to write a letter.
With postage?
Yeah, postage. Enough money for postage. And my mom said that she bought bread with it and didn't write to her because she was so mean on the card that she wrote down.
Postage was enough to buy bread?
Yes, that's what she said. That's what she said.
Huh. And I think postage then was like 3 cents.
By that time, my grandfather on the Wolloschuk side had separated or divorced his family, and their mom moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, and that's where I was born. And so my mom and Ralph, my real dad, they moved to British Columbia.
How'd they get across the border?
Oh, the border came. Oh, that's a good part of the story. Is so my mom didn't contact her own mom
because she was too mad.
She was too scared of her that she was just going to sit and yell at her all the time. And said,
she would have helped.
And she said in her letter she wrote to her, she said, "So, did you just travel down there without even being married or anything?" And
yeah, pretty much.
But anyway, so they went to Vancouver, and they were very with no money in Lethbridge, Alberta, because neither one of the parents wanted to help them out. Nowadays, the parents would have.
Yeah, but back then they just said, you're on your own.
But that was
you're going to play grown up.
That was a time where it started. My dad started to say, we weren't married in the Catholic Church, and
we'll just. They got across the border. Twin babies were born.
Oh no! Here's what happened: is her dad came to meet her at the border.
Her dad, your mom's dad.
Because Ralph said,
"Okay,
well, why don't you just call your mom, then come get us, or they have to be there to show that we're not sneaking into Canada or back and forth or something." And so so the dad came, and he brought a lawyer with him. And so they're over
the dad, her dad brought a lawyer?
Yeah.
So they...
Well, because they didn't have... I'm sure they didn't have driver's license, no ID.
I was going to say, didn't they have something to prove they were from Canada?
You don't have any stuff like that. No.
Oh, dear.
If you're born on a farm...
Oh, so the lawyer... I thought the lawyer was to get them divorced. But
no, the lawyer
was there to prove they were Canadians.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
And so your mom has...
And so...
Gets across the border.
And my mom said in her where I recorded her name, said, the lawyer did all the talking. I didn't have to do any talking at all.
Kind of took the pressure off her.
And then, so they're, I guess, walking to their, I think they just had a horse and buggy then. They didn't have, there were no cars then. And so they, so her dad said, well, we probably should just, you want to just come to our house, or we got to tell your mother and everything what the news is? And my mom says, "Ooh, I wasn't too."
So where'd they go?
I can't remember that part. Or else.
Well, didn't they go live with your mom?
No.
They went with the Wolloschuk.
Yeah, no, they didn't go. They got an apartment on their own.
Oh, they got one on their own.
Yeah, cheap apartment. So I guess they went home with a couple of bucks enough to get an apartment.
And then they
had no food money. That was the whole problem. And that was when she was pregnant with.
Yeah, she had her twins.
And that was when she went without food a lot when she was pregnant with my two brothers.
And so she has the twins, and One dies.
One,
She had him at the Salvation Army place.
and she said that she think most of the story is that my dad and mom think that the doctor was a little bit drunk when he delivered.
Yes, I think he was drunk.
Well, just because he wasn't acting sober.
Yeah, and the one baby died.
And so after that, we moved to Vancouver, my mom and my dad, and we move in with my dad's parents in Vancouver. And that's where I spent my first 4 years.
Yeah.
Living
well,
there.
then the one twin dies, and so you and Colin, then you're born a couple of years later, so it's just you and Colin, your brother Colin.
Yeah, we're born, and this is in Vancouver now.
How old are you when your parents decide to get divorced?
Well, it was when we were about
You were 8?
No, 6 to 8 years old.
6 to 8 years old.
But he had been talking about it. He said, and he started getting not nice about it, like he said. I don't recognize this marriage.
Yeah, he said a Vegas marriage wasn't a true marriage.
Yeah,
and so
he wasn't hinting to go so he can go out.
So they decide to get divorced, and then so that just left quite an impression on Joe, how important it is to marry someone of your own religion.
And the judge said, let the kids go with us kids go with whatever parent they want. I chose my mom, and my brother chose my dad.
So Maureen comes down, Joe's mother comes down to California, where her mother had moved because their grandpa had died.
Yeah.
And so that's how it gets to that point. Okay, so we're getting to the point where Joe decides, that gets him, so he wants to marry a girl in his own religion.
Well, actually, later on in my life, when I'm dating, I just said, I'm solid in the Mormon church, and I don't want to marry somebody that a Mormon that doesn't want to go to church anymore, or I don't want to marry another religion.
Yeah. And one girl that you were dating, and she didn't want to join your religion, and her friend said, why don't you just go find a good little Mormon girl and marry her. So
actually it was an inactive Mormon girl, and I thought, she's Mormon, so this should be okay.
Yeah,
and
that told you that.
But she was right.
And so now we're back to where me and Joe have met, and so it's time for me to meet Joe's parents. And
back to the
yeah, we got to get back to where Joe gets rambling, but it is fun to hear. We find out that Joe's stepdad, Eugene, so Maureen, his mother marries Eugene Orgill.
And he's a Mormon, and they get married in a Salt Lake Temple. And that's the same place we married, and all our children married.
Anyway, so what's fun about Joe's dad, and I loved Joe's
real stepdad.
Your real dad too. I got to meet him a couple times. He drove up to Canada. He's just a really nice guy too. But then
she says that because he gave her $20 and says, "Don't give this to Joe.
Say you get to spend this on your own." No, I really liked him with the $20 or without. And so anyway, I found Gene. When he found out Joe was dating a Buhler, he was just way excited because
this is her dad.
He grew up. A few of his years he lived in Midway,
Utah,
and he lived right next door to a Gottfried Buhler, and that was my great-great-grandfather.
And that's a settlement of Swiss people, because they have Swiss days up there once a year.
Gottfried had joined the church in
German. They speak German.
Switzerland.
Gottfried means God's peace.
God's peace.
Yeah.
I thought it was Godspeed. So he joins church, and he moves to, comes down here to Midway and starts building homes and stuff. And then Gene says that he grew up next to Gottfried, and he knew him, and he was just so excited. He says, "Oh, the Buhlers are the salt of the earth," and that was just really fun for me to hear that, because here I'd grown up a Buhler.
But isn't there one other saying, you can't have too much salt in something?
Yeah, my mom would say that. She says, of course you don't want too much salt. Anyway, so it was fun to have somebody that praised the Buhlers instead of being made fun of. And so Joe's dad was just way excited to marry. So he was all for us getting married. And I thought, isn't that ironic that he lived next door, and he knew my grandpa. He would play with them, Alma Buhler, And a funny little story, he said, up there in Midway, the kids were all coming home from school, Joe's stepdad, Gene, and my grandfather, Alma, and they were walking home from school, and they didn't know they were dynamiting. They would blast out tree trunks out of the ground instead of
I
instead
remember
of pulling
that
them
in
out.
Vancouver. They used to do that.
Did they do that then
Yeah.
too? And Alma, my grandfather, had gone over and stood right on one of the tree trunks that was going to get blown up.
Whoa.
And the kids were everybody's yelling, get off of there, get off. Gene told me this story.
Oh.
I hadn't heard it before.
Uh-huh.
And they were able to get him off in time before the dynamite went off.
Wow.
So that was pretty scary. And my grandpa Alma tells some fun stories about living in Midway and how his mom dies and his dad marries another lady that they did not like. And Gene, he says, oh yeah, we used to always go over and play over at the Buhlers, and when he married that new lady, he says she was mean and we never got to go over there and play and stuff. And I'd kind of read stories about how the kids didn't like the new wife and stuff, but so I just wanted to tell a little bit about Joe's background and then tell about how Joe's parents felt about me. And Joe had two other sisters from this second marriage, and they were my age, so it was really fun. They were just like my sisters, and Bonnie and Amy, and we really liked each other.
I want to tell them why my name changed to Orgill from Wolloschuk.
Oh yes, tell that real
Okay, so
quick,
we're
and
in
then we'll close up.
California. Me and my mom living in a little trailer behind my grandma's house, and she's the one that told me at 11 years old that I should be out working and earning some money.
Yeah, she'd get you out working.
And while I was waiting so I went out looking for a job, and I told her, everybody says that you're just a little boy, you can't work.
Yeah, your mom would say, your grandma would say, you hustle, you get out there and hustle. Because Maureen, your mother, was out working. She had to provide money.
Yeah.
Because back then they didn't have child support.
But anyway, so we went to a family reunion, and my stepfather was a fourth or fifth cousin, quite distant. And my mother ended up marrying him.
So his mother's name was Maureen Orgill, and
so
then
his
she
name
married
was Orgill, but it's fourth or fifth. You have to go back almost 4 generations before they meet.
Yeah.
Before they meet. And anyway, we moved up to Bingham, Utah, and I had to register for school, and I was tired of saying my name's Joe Wolloschuk, because everybody would say, so Wallace is your middle name? I said, no, that's part of the last name.
And back then, divorce wasn't very common. And so Joe just felt embarrassed that his name was Wolloschuk, but his mother's name, because she went back to her maiden name, and then she married an Orgill. So she went by Maureen Orgill. And Joe was embarrassed that he was Wolloschuk.
I just thought...
And you had to explain it. You go, my parents are divorced. And,
yeah.
And
it just seemed simpler to go by my mom's name.
So when you were what age?
That was when we moved up there. I was 12 years old. I started going by... We just not randomly, we just chose that. And
your brother's still up in Canada.
Yeah, and when I wrote my real father a letter, I still used Wolloschuk, because I thought, oh, he doesn't know that I'm going by this.
And how old were you? How old were you when you legally changed your name to Wolloschuk?
I was
19
years old.
Oh, but age 12, you just went by Joe Wallace.
When I had to get a passport
to
go on a mission for the Mormon Church, I was 19 and I had to get a passport.
And then you legally changed it to...
I went for a judge and legally changed it.
And that hurt his dad. His dad was very hurt by that, because he wanted Joe to carry on the Wolloschuk name. And my dad, he would always say, hey, Mrs. Wolloschuk. And I said, Dad, it's Orgill. He goes, no, he shouldn't have changed his name. I says, well, he wanted it to be the same as his mother. And he says, no, he's a Wolloschuk. And
so he liked that name.
Yeah, he says he shouldn't have changed his name. He should be Wolloschuk. I said, well, it's Orgill, because his mom's maiden name's Orgill, and she married an Orgill. And he says, so he's still a Wolloschuk. So we would have been Wolloschuk.
But That's actually an issue that's not for the...
Instead of Momma O, I would have been Momma W.
Wow.
And it would have been Davey, Wolloschuk, and...
None of the kids would want that. So.
Well, if you grow up with it, it seems normal. But
Yeah.
so that's kind of how we'll just end with that. That's been 25 minutes. So we get
I know
around.
we kind of lost her, but the bottom line was that her grandpa and my
Stepdad knew each other.
and my stepdad's parents. No, stepdad knew
My grandpa.
both families.
Yeah. And he just loved Buhlers. I thought, how nice to have somebody that loves the Buhlers.
Salt of the earth.
And he says, Buhlers, and he knew stories about the Buhlers, good stories, from my great-grandfather up there in Midway. And Jean adored the Buhlers.
When they were in Switzerland.
Yeah.
That's where they joined the Mormon church when they were in Switzerland.
Yeah, and my great-grandfather, Gottfried, he joined the Mormon church, and he was a really good spokesman, a really good speaker, and they asked him to stay 10 more years and help convert people.
10 more years.
Yeah, before he moved, because it was common back then when you joined the church to move here to Utah, and
well, people kind of said, well, that's where Zion is, and for us, Zion is where all the Mormons were, and now we believe that Zion is where your family members are, and your members.
Well, now the church is so big that they don't need to move here. But back then, that's just what they did.
Zion for us now is your home, where you have the gospel.
And they started discouraging LDS people to move here to Utah. Says that's good. You guys can stay where you are. But so that's why my great-grandfather moved here and settled up Midway, and he built houses up there. That was his thing. And when Davey and April went up to stay in Midway, with Jared and Ellie, and I said, go look for your great-great-grandpa's house. It's still up there in Midway. And we may drive up there as a family and go show the kids where his house was up there, right down from that train station, the Heber Creeper that they rode on. It's just right down the road from there. But anyway, that's just kind of a quick little story of that. And then just to have Joe's dad love me so much I just think, wow, thanks. And he just built me up so much, and because where I had been kind of embarrassed, or been made fun of my whole life, and where Jean was just praising the Buhlers and just saying what a great legacy, what a great family I had. And then when me and Joe got home from our honeymoon, Joe's dad called us and let us know that my grandpa had died. And
my dad's one?
Yeah, Jean let us know that Alma had died.
How come your mom or dad didn't?
Well, Jean was the first to tell us. My mom and dad did tell us, but Jean was the first to tell us. And so he had died while we were on our honeymoon, and Joe got to meet him just before we left. Battery went out. Okay, we're going to say our good nights. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and let us know if you like that story. And that's just kind of our story so far. Thank you, and good night. Oh.
If your parents have learned a lesson in their lives, try not to repeat their mistakes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
From the religion,
Yeah, thank you, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
It was a me and one that I would find you. It was a me and one you'd be mine. It was a me and one that you would leave me. Out of a million, I guess I was the one. When I saw you, I knew I loved you from the very first time. Then you touched me, oh, you kissed me, baby, you took away